Columbia University lecturer and legal analyst, as well as Scott Bolden, legal analyst and former chair of the D.C. Democratic Party. Welcome both. And let's start with you, Dr. McNeil. In this case, as Tom was just describing, there's this Colorado web designer. She argued she had a First Amendment right to refuse to design same-sex wedding websites. And this is in spite of the Colorado anti-discrimination law that bars businesses from discriminating against LGBTQ people. Dr. McNeil, your immediate reaction to this?
I think the Supreme Court's decision is in alignment with what they decided in the Masterpiece Cake case recently, which dealt with a Colorado anti-discrimination law in which a business owner refused to make a cake for a same-sex couple. I think what we're seeing is the court is really trying to strike a balance between First Amendment religious freedom rights, as well as making sure there are not laws that are discriminating against the LGBTQ plus population. So I think what we're seeing, though, by the 6-3 majority court is an expansion of religious freedom, expansion of religious rights with this case. So I think in that case, it's very significant.
Scott, what is your reaction? Any surprise for you here today?
Not with the Supreme Court 6-3 decision, not surprising. This is a very conservative court. They're right-leaning, and while I don't believe in politics being played with judicial decisions at the Supreme Court level, this was anticipated. Unfortunately, it's not a win for the gay community under any circumstances because they truly believe in gay rights, and the issue of discrimination against them in violation of this Colorado statute is real. The court seems to have picked the religious liberties and religious freedom of the First Amendment and saying that in this case, the compelling state interest did not reach the right measure, and that essentially for her First Amendment rights trump the statute that bars discrimination against gay couples.
And Scott, you mentioned this is a loss for the LGBTQ plus community. Would you say this is a win or a loss for the Biden administration today?
Well, given the policies of the Biden administration, it certainly isn't in line with their belief that we are all created equal and no one should be discriminated against. It's a protected class vis-a-vis sexual orientation. The court doesn't seem to be respecting that. Would the Dems create a loss, consider a loss? I think they would, but at the same time, that just means there's more work to be done with this court, and that voting matters because as a result, you've got a very conservative court. And there's more work to do politically in regard to who's running Congress and the Senate. But we've got to live with this decision and look for a case to go forward to challenge it more.
Well, and Dr. McNeil, is this a done deal, or could there be future challenges to this going forward?
You know, with respect to these state statutes, I think it is a done deal. The only thing that I could see that might be a sense of reprieve or a possible legal action is perhaps if Congress passed some type of statute for prohibiting or banning this type of what the defendants were saying were, the plaintiffs, is discrimination. So, but I think as far as on the state level, this is a done deal. People do have the religious freedom to refuse goods and services to individuals based on their religious beliefs. And so I think we're going to see a very pronounced ripple effect throughout the country. And again, I do want to emphasize from the Supreme Court's perspective, this is a very difficult case. It's very difficult when you have two very important rights. You know, the Supreme Court doesn't want to endorse discriminatory statutes, but they also don't want to endorse infringements on people's religious freedoms. And so this is a very polarizing and very hot topic, as we would say, that the Supreme Court had to tackle in this decision. So it's not an easy choice.
Yeah, Scott, I see you nodding to polarizing here. Our producer just sending me Sotomayor's dissent, saying, quote, "The lesson of the history of public accommodations laws is altogether different. It is that in a free and democratic society, there can be no social castes. And for that to be true, it must be true in the public market." What is your response to this, Scott?
And as well as under the law. I mean, essentially, I understand the toughness of the decision. I agree with my colleague when you're pitting these protected rights against one another. But essentially, the decision says that if your religious belief trumps anti-discrimination laws, that you can essentially say, I don't want to serve you, or I don't want to create a website for you because of your sexual orientation. That's fundamentally wrong in the American system of justice. It just is. I respect religious rights, but you can have religious rights and a First Amendment without discriminating against a protected class. Next thing you're going to know, if I don't believe in black or brown people or yellow people, I don't have to serve them because my religion that I believe in says I shouldn't have to, or that they perhaps are shouldn't be in a protected class. Then my religious belief is going to trump that. That makes zero practical sense to me and shouldn't make any legal sense to the Supreme Court.
Dr. McNeil, final word to you in just about 20 seconds.
I think what's important is where do we go from here? And I think for the LGBTQ plus community, I would encourage them, where do you spend your money? Don't patronize these types of businesses that are going to engage in discriminatory behavior. And I think that's the best course of action because, again, this decision will stand and really there's not a whole lot they can do with respect to that.
And I know, Dr. McNeil, there is another big decision that is coming down today as well. We're tracking that. Tom says it'll come down within the next hour. And of course, that's the decision on student loan debt forgiveness. We appreciate both of you, Scott Bolden and Dr. Laura McNeil, for staying with us, and we'll check back with you. Thank you.